Hello and welcome to this episode of Cosmic Crow Tarot, where today I begin by asking you a question. Are you a fan of Edgar Allan Poe's work? This book is quite thick. I can't really get it. Actually, it fits perfectly under here. And you can see there, no pictures, nothing, just the beautiful stories that many of us know, as Edgar Allan Poe is one of the most famous authors of all time. His dark and gloomy stories, his fascination and imagination, it just makes his stories stand the test of time. They're fantastic. And when I saw this book at the bookstore a few years back, I saw it's like the complete tales and poems. I'm like, I have to have this. I love Edgar Allan Poe. I know a lot of his stories, but I don't know all of them. I haven't really dove into this book very recently. I mean, I've picked through it and stuff, but some of the stories are so much better than others. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I have a deck to show you if you are a fan of Edgar Allan Poe, and I can't believe that I've never shown you this deck before. I have shown you a version of the a Poe Tarot. I think it's called the Poe Tarot, yeah. And so it's a very awesome deck, and it has like quotes from his stories and everything. But this one, like, it's completely different. You can see there Edgar Allan Poe's on the front of the box, and you've got the symbols for Aries back here in this in the background, like on his post behind him on his chair, because you've got the ram, Aries season, ram, all of that. So he's very much the emperor in this deck, and shows that strong foundation that he created with books, with stories that still live today, even if he does not. So this is such a beautiful deck, and like I said, I can't believe I've never shown it to you before, because it's downright one of my absolute favorites. Like, here's the book that goes with it, the companion, the book that makes this deck as fantastic as it is. I really like it because it shows not only like the color illustrations and everything, but it tells you what stories it's about as well. Like here in the Telltale Heart part, that tells the story that's behind it. In this image, we see a young Edgar Allan Poe and Annabel Lee. In the poem Annabel Lee, the narrator reflects on being a child living by the sea, saying she was a child and I was a child in this kingdom by the sea. So you have this information right here where you could refer back to the book and read the entire story. Like, this deck could be an inspiration for you to like read Edgar Allan Poe's stories. And I can't get enough of this deck. I've had it for a couple years, and I love the fact that it has all these different illustrations that just connect back to the stories that Edgar Allan Poe told so well and so beautifully back in the 1800s. Like, here is the Fool, and you've got that cask of, I don't even know how to begin to pronounce that. It looks like armadillo, so I'm going to call it a montadillo. So you have that illustration of the thieves in there and everything, and then there was a magician. The magician is from the one we all know, the Raven, because there is the Raven in the house. That's the magician, and that's kind of what made Edgar Allan Poe famous, was that Raven. When you think of the Raven, when you think of ravens, you think of that word, nevermore. And Baltimore, where Edgar Allan Poe was born and raised and from, Baltimore Ravens, they named their entire football team about the Ravens. Like, I think they even, like, their mascots are Edgar Allan and Poe. So, of course, crows, ravens, corvids in general, they're my favorite thing in the world. So we have, like, why I love this deck and why I love Edgar Allan Poe. Last time I checked, I haven't checked in a while, I think they live at the Baltimore Aquarium. There's 2 ravens living there, at least there were. They were kind of like mascots for Baltimore Ravens too. I believe their names were Rise and Conquer, but I could be wrong about that. But this deck, just the guidebook alone is incredible. You can see all the different illustrations here, all the giant collar ones, and a lot of times the books that come with decks, you don't have this. I think the Alice in Wonderland deck, the Tarot in Wonderland, that one's got this as well, like the color illustrations and the parts of the story. And that's what makes decks like this so interesting, is because not only do they give you the meanings, like there's Into the Maelstrom, which is like the meaning of the card itself and how it connects, but it tells you that story too of how, like, why they did this, why they created this deck. And that's why I think it's so important to have like the books that the tarot authors and tarot creators wrote when they were making this deck. Because yes, it's important to trust our intuitions and everything when it comes to reading the tarot, but it's every bit as important to understand what the author and creator behind the deck was thinking when they did it. It gives us more meaning than we may have had before. And the fact that this deck is created from stories by such a I don't know the right word here, such a an interesting mind. Just goes to show just how much in life can just come out into the tarot. Like, that is tarot. Tarot and life go hand in hand. It's the different illustrations, the different stories that go into our lives that makes the tarot work so well. So that is just the guidebook that I share with you here. And you can see the deck right here in the box. Very nice box there. And you see the raven holding the eye. You see some of the cards that are in the deck. And like the illustrations, like I said, very much the different stories. I do not, like I said, know all of the stories. I'm going to get this out of the way so I can really show you. But I do know a couple of them fairly well, and why I like I'll share them with you so you know why I like this deck so much. Like this card right here, it's the Seven of Pentacles, which is having patience as we work to achieve our goals. That 7 is a number of overcoming obstacles. And having patience when we're trying to reach that 8 of success and wealth can very much be an obstacle that we will have to overcome. Now this is, I don't remember exactly how the story goes, but this is like the king, or the yeah, we'll just say king for lack of a better word, that he gets these women, he has fun with them at night, and then he kills them. And that is the end of the woman, and then he finds another one to do the same thing with. But this woman was intelligent. She knew that the patience and like the obstacle that she faced is her own death, because this guy's going to kill her. So she starts stringing these stories that keep him interested, leaving cliffhangers at the end of him every night, so he can't kill her. He needs to know what story that she's going to share next. And I think that's so fascinating, such a cool story. And you know, this just came from his mind, you know, having something to offer someone, in this example, a story that, you know, if you're going to want to know the ending, you're going to have to keep her alive. That is what keeps her alive throughout the entire story. And that's the illustration that we see her here. Her stringing the story, stringing him along, and giving him this imagination and this excitement that he doesn't want to give up yet, so her life stays safe. So that's the 7 of Pentacles in this deck. There you see the 8 of Pentacles right there. And you've got Edgar Allan Poe himself working hard on those goals and working hard on his stories to achieve success. And that's what the 8 of Pentacles is all about. So these illustrations are very much related to the stories, and they're at the same time, they're very much related to the works of, or the tarot as well. Like stories and tarot go hand in hand. I think that's what I'm saying. 3 of Swords right there, you know, that's the telltale heart, heartbreak, betrayal, and everything like that. And it keeps beating, it keeps making knocking ones because you can't let it go. So it's a very interesting take on the 3 of Swords. 4 of Swords, there she is resting. 5 of Swords, yeah, you get the idea. I know I'm doing this kind of quickly, but it wasn't so much about showing you the illustrations, more showing you how awesome this deck is. You know, like a short and sweet little video dedicated to Edgar Allan Poe and his amazing work, as well as Rose White and Eugene Smith, the creators behind this deck, illustrated by Eugene Smith, who happens to be the same one that illustrated the Tarot in Wonderland. So very, very talented artist right there. There you have the Queen of Swords, the King of Swords. Set those down. Ace of Cups, 2 of Cups. That's just a beautiful illustration of the 3 of Cups. There he is mourning his sweet Lenore. You probably heard that story before as well. Very good interpretation of the 5 of Cups, because he's holding on to that pain, his loss. And Edgar Allan Poe was not a happy man. I mean, if you read anything about him, he was very upset. I think his mother left him and his sister when they were very young. He was in love with his cousin. He married his cousin. She died of tuberculosis, I believe. So just a very difficult life for this man, but he turned it into something. He turned it into stories. Beautiful, beautiful, dark, depressing stories that just stand the test of time and keep his memory alive today. It's his stories that created a name of a football team. We're not going to get into that. I still hold some kind of like anger about the Baltimore Ravens this year, 2024, but that's beside the point. I don't watch football enough anyways to care. Got the 6 of Cups right there, like we talked about that in the book, the young Edgar Allan Poe with his young friends. 7 of Cups, the cards of choices. You've got the 8 of Cups, leaving things behind. There's the 9 of Cups, the 10, the Page. I'm going to set those down because this is getting a little bit difficult. I'm just going to flip through the deck really fast so I can get to a couple other cards that I really like in this deck. Just more ravens in that one. You know, they're all leaving, going home to their families and things. They had that passion. It took them. It made them go further in their lives because, you know, that passion took them where they wanted to be, and life got a little bit crazy. There's the 9 of Wands, kind of demonic there. 10 of Wands. I believe this is from the story that actually occurred. I could be wrong about this, but the 10 of Wands, you know, stressful, overcoming, like all those wands that you have on your back, all those irons in the fire. those passions might have you feeling overwhelmed, and as he's tied to this board and everybody's like sitting around him, he's definitely in a precarious situation and he doesn't know if he's going to get out of it. But there's a story, I don't remember what it's called, but Edgar Allan Poe wrote it, and it was about these men that were on a ship, and the ship like couldn't go anymore. It was sinking or something, and they all needed to survive. So they picked the youngest one, they picked the smallest one, and they ended up eating him. And then years later, that story actually occurred. Like, that was really true. So maybe Edgar Allan Poe could predict the future. But there's the Page of Wands being chased by a demon. The Knight of Wands is when like a gorilla, or what is that? I cannot remember what kind. Orangutan. I think that's an orangutan. Crashed into a house in one of his stories and like destroyed everything, and they didn't know it was a giant monkey. There's the Queen of Wands, the King, coming out from the pits of hell. There's the Fool we talked about the thieves. Got the Major Arcana here, that magician that I love so much. The High Priestess sitting in the graveyard, learning from the past and trusting her intuition. There's the Empress, also in a graveyard because there's the mausoleum. Edgar Allan Poe himself, like the front of the box. The Emperor of the deck, the Emperor that we remember, that strong foundation that still stands today, even if he does not. There's the Hierophant, which is a mummy. The Lovers is 2 characters. I believe that is Edgar Allan Poe. That might be Lenore, and you have the raven in the background. It's a beautiful illustration there. The Chariot, which probably comes from the same story that the Mummy does. Strength is there. The Hermit, living on an island, a desolate island, nobody else on there. There could be some fun in that, it's like getting away from the hustle and bustle and everything. But just look at the color of the sunset in the background. Everything about it, this deck is beautiful. There's the Scarab on the Wheel of Fortune, which is also similar to that of the Ace of Pentacles over here. Here is Justice. The Hanged Man, really interesting story behind this one as well. That knife, or whatever you call it, the pendulum that was swinging, was going to cut him, but he ended up, I think the rats ended up eating his ropes there that held him prisoner, so that he could set himself free and he wouldn't get eaten. So that was really cool. Oh, I do remember that story actually. Like, they gave him meat and stuff, but he was just kind of putting it on the ropes right there so that the rats would want to eat it, and the more they ate it, the more the ropes came off and he was saved. So that having patience, that hanged man waiting around thinking outside the box, saved that man's life. Death is one of the sadder stories of the Edgar Allan Poe series, or books, whatever you want to call it, because this is a painting of a woman, and this husband thought his wife was so beautiful that he wanted to paint her likeness, and he took weeks and weeks and weeks to paint her, and she couldn't move, she couldn't eat, she couldn't drink. Maybe that's how she didn't have to use the bathroom, I'm not sure. But by the time he was done with the painting, she had expired. She died because she hadn't gotten any food, any water, any movement, so the only thing left of her was the painting. There is Temperance. Yes, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a book with a fairy in it. The Devil, you've got that in the illustration. Like, maybe that's the character from Death after her entire corpse has like just melted away and become a skeleton. The House of Usher, I believe, is the tower in this deck. Beautiful illustration of the tower. The Star. We have the Moon. The Sun, beautiful illustration again. See, there's happy, positive things in Edgar Allan Poe's work too, if you read them. Judgment there, kind of dark and creepy, but they're all rising to the heavens. And then that leaves us with the Whirl, which seems to be a medieval story. But all in all, this is just such a fantastic deck. It's very thorough, very beautiful, and I just wanted to share it with all of you because I hadn't done it yet. You can see all the illustrations there. This is a mass market deck, so you can very much find it where all decks are available. If it's still available, I don't see why it wouldn't be. It's very detailed, awesome box. You can see it's very big. You can see the little cord right there to get the deck out easily, and there's that scarab in the center. You're taking it back to like Egyptian times and Carl Jung and everything. So it's like full circle on the tarot archetypes and everything like that. So you just put the deck back in there, tuck it in nicely. So you've got that cord going across. You can just pop it up whenever you want to. And you have the book right here, which again is so detailed. This deck is worth every penny. I absolutely love it, and that's why I wanted to share it with you today. If you are a fan of Edgar Allan Poe and his work, then this is worth having because it's every single story that he ever did. It's one of the very few books that I actually have physical copies of because I just don't have the room to have a bunch of books. Actually, technically I have a bunch of books, but this is one of my favorites, and I keep it close. I kind of refer to it every once in a while because it's just Edgar Allan Poe he's the Raven. He's the one that wrote the Raven. He's dark and gloomy, and just that may be where Adam's family or something came from. The darker, creepy things of life can be beautiful as well. So as always, I want to thank you for watching. If you want a reading with this deck or any deck in my collection, then feel free to send me a message or comment on this video, send me a message on either socials or book one directly on my website. All of that is available. I will leave a link in the description below where you can purchase this deck for your own collection if you want to do that. Always, I want to thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next one.